The sands of Persia cover the corpses of many a great empire. Many were conquerors seeking new frontiers of glory and power, but some were born among the sand and stone of the Near East. Chief among them stands the first Persian Empire, rising from mere vassals of minor kingdoms to the largest empire of its era. It would fight some of the most famous battles of antiquity. It is the Achaemenid Empire, and this is its story. Hello and welcome back to the Historical Humans podcast. My name is Justin Woods. I'm joined today by my fellow co-host, Coleman, and today we are marching off to the Near East and looking back into antiquity. We have gotten past our North American phase, and boy howdy, we need to go march where North America really likes to. We're going to the Middle East. All right.
Yeah, welcome to Persia, everybody. The sands of time do repeat here. Someone has flipped the hourglass. Fortunately, we are, for the first time this season, finally getting out of the last 2 centuries. That's right. We're going into ancient history today. The Achaemenid Empire is the first of the Persian empires. This is the dawn of Imperial Persia. This is going to be the first empire out there. This is going to be the one that fights the Greeks. This is the one that goes to Thermopylae. This is the one that Alexander the Great really fucking hates.
It's arguably the one that helps project him to his reputation, his ultimate power.
Yeah, no, this is the original Persian Empire. There are multiple Persian empires that come after this. They are all based on this one. Yeah, this is the idea.
They all harken back to it. You know, a lot of great empires will oftentimes harken back to their golden time or to a good period of their own history. And this is what a lot of Persia and even modern day Iran, this is one of the things that they harken back to is this great empire, this great history.
Yeah. This is the original dream of Persia. And it will last from 559 to 330 BCE. And what's fun about it is it technically begins much sooner than that, because the ruling dynasty of the Achaemenid Empire, the Achaemenids, they begin with King Achaemenes, who lived about 150 years before his own empire. Achaemenes was this petty vassal lord, a minor king that paid tribute to another king for protection and just generally not getting mauled. He lived during the early 7th century, so 680 or so BCE. And what's funny about him is he gives his name to this dynasty and empire, but Achaemenes is not actually his name. Achaemenes is what the Greek historians in the 400s BC, so about 200 years after his death, called him.
Oh, so it's an exonym.
It's an exonym because apparently Herodotus and the other Greek historians could not pronounce the name Hakhamash or Hakhamenesh. So technically this should be called the Achaemenid Empire, but history is written by the victor, and the victor will eventually be Greece.
So just because they couldn't pronounce it, God, that's
this is why we also get the Egyptian pharaoh Ozymandias, because apparently Ramses is something Greeks could not say or just freaking refuse to say.
God, so the Greeks were the original Brits. It's like I'm going to mispronounce this intentionally.
Yep. Yeah, it's that bad.
Oh,
yeah. But Achaemenes, he is the man that the entire Persian Empire will use as their reference point for whether or not someone has a legitimate claim to rule it. Despite the fact that he dies about a century and change before there's any empire to have a legitimate claim on, which is just really fun because you don't see that a lot in history. Usually, the founder of the dynasty, the person who brings the family into power, is also the person who starts the empire. Not the case here. Persians play the long game for this one.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Just super early to the game. This man was so ahead of his time. He was quite literally centuries ahead of his own time, quite frankly.
yeah, yeah. Now, what's funny about the Achaemenid Persians? There's a really fun thing that happens to them where they technically have two lines of kings going at the same time. But only one of them is actually recognized as a legitimate line.
Please tell me it
Uh,
goes back and forth as time goes on.
Um, no, unfortunately, the junior line gets recognized as legitimate when the senior line murders itself.
Oh,
Which is a really fun thing that's going to happen. We get to talk about it in detail. But effectively, what happens is Achaemedes sets up his family for power. His son does a great job setting up his family for power, and then immediately fucks it up with the secession.
it's usually the whole
Because
like third line of secession is usually where most dynasties tend to start experiencing some hiccups, so to speak.
oh yeah, no, this is going to be the first major hurdle. But to start with, Archimedes was king of Parsumash, which was a small vassal state of Media, both of which are located in what is now northwestern Iran, near the borders with places like Armenia. Um, so they're kind of up there in the rocks. um, he gets some minor acclaim. He makes his house famous. He makes his people important by successfully leading troops against the much larger kingdom of Assyria in 681.
Ooh, that's usually a pretty good way to raise your own stock when you're empire building is, you defeat a much stronger power, show you're a determined and strong
Yeah,
leader, and, people tend
yeah,
to start falling in line for military leaders that can have that kind of
yeah,
acumen.
yeah. Now Assyria overall wins because it's Assyria versus Media, and the Medes are smaller, but Archimedes here does such a good job that he's kind of a prominent figure. The Medians start losing control of him as a vassal, and that's where they start. Archimedes starts going like, okay, we can start building power.
Oh no, he started suffering from success. He goes, "Wait, this was easy. You guys
Yep.
made it seem so hard."
Now, unfortunately, 6 years after the campaign, Archimedes is dead,
Ooh.
and his son Thespes takes the throne. Now, Thespes has a very long and prosperous rule for the most part. He goes from 675 to 640 BC, and he is not king of Parsumash. He is instead king of the much larger state of Anshan, which is effectively Parsumash plus. He's located to the north of the Persian Gulf, and where Thespes' father Archimedes here was a great general, where he was good at he led troops in battle, was had that military might.
No, this man
Thespes
was.
is he's a politician.
He's
He's
the
a
world's
wily one.
greatest bureaucrat. Yes.
Yeah. See, Archimedes had kind of made Parsumash slash Anshan here de facto independent from Medea. So Thespes has to do this balancing act of being this tiny little like Belgian vassal state between two much larger, angrier powers of Assyria and Medea.
But you also have to make sure not to aggravate either one of them for your own safety and security.
Yep, yep, yeah, yep. Especially since as king of Anshan, he's still technically part of what's called Elam, which is this large kingdom incorporating Medea and the rest of it. Um, and it goes to war with Assyria a lot. and he like sticks to this policy of strict neutrality where he's able to appease everybody and be like buying them all off for like, yes, I'm loyal to you. No, I'm not starting a war with you. Please don't park your troops here.
Please just keep on moving.
Yeah. And for 35 years, he's pretty fucking good at it. He fucks it up at the finish line, though, with his succession. Because he does one of two things with his succession. The first is he divides his kingdom.
Ooh, that's a big mistake to begin with.
He has two sons, Cyrus and Aria Ramnes. Guy, I wish the Greeks gave him a name so I could say it.
I know it's not that Cyrus guy, but something about him. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, the Cyrus guy. Yeah. Now, the other thing that is alleged to have happened is that he mandated that generationally, each of his sons switch king. So, if Cyrus is king, then Arya Ramnes, his son, should succeed Cyrus, not Cyrus's son.
Oh, so he had a jumping from bloodline to bloodline. Yep. Interesting.
Yeah. This does not happen, and it is entirely possible that Arya Ramnes' descendants made this up some like 2 centuries later for the sole purpose of legitimizing themselves.
That's what it sounds like, quite frankly.
Yeah, because it's not followed remotely. Instead, you get the elder line and the junior line. And the elder line begins with Cyrus the First, who takes the throne in 640. He will rule it to 600. He is the elder son of Thespes. 639, helps Babylon rebel against Assyria. Immediately loses.
Ooh.
The revolt fails, and Assyria conquers and incorporates the kingdom of Elam, which Cyrus, was technically a part of. And he is forced to surrender his son Aruku as a hostage. This does something very important for history. It changes the line of succession.
That is like a double whammy right off the rip, though.
Yeah, right off the rip. See, Aruku, as a hostage in Assyria, he ends up not becoming king of what is effectively Anshan at this point. Instead, his brother Atridates succeeds to the Achaemenid throne. Atridates renames himself as Cambyses I. Cambyses I will have another massively long reign from 600 to 559 BCE. He is the last pre-Persian Achaemenid. So he's the last guy before they get onto the map as a fully fledged independent empire.
So I guess you could say he was the proto-Persian.
Yeah, kind of. What he does is, at this point, Anshan is a very, very influential vassal of Media. And so he uses all of his influence to politically maneuver internally to Media by convincing King Astyages, the sitting ruler of Media, to marry off his daughter to Cambyses. He marries the daughter of the king to whom he pays tribute.
Smart move on his part. It basically seals his position. He basically just swore his loyalty to his father-in-law, and then his father-in-law is now not going to mess with him whatsoever. It's a political marriage.
Yep. What this does is this means that when he has kids, those children will technically have a claim to King of the Medes. this is more power than this family has ever had before. And by God, are they going to use it?
God, this is a Game of Thrones type marriage.
It really is. Because it turns out that this marriage, there must have been something magical to it, because we get like the first truly superbly exceptional Achaemenid in all of this out of it. We get Cyrus the Second, who is known to history as Cyrus the Great.
So, is it something where you think like the stars just coalesced in the right alignment at this point in time, or do you think it was like a she was madly in love with this lesser king, so she begged her father to marry him, or do you think her father was trying to sell her off to the highest bidder?
I think the king of Medes was the like de facto ruler of Elam, and the Achaemenids were the second most powerful family in all of Elam. So, in order to stop, say, in order to prevent the Achaemenids from, say, questioning why they should listen to him, he married them into the family. It sounds very much like a political marriage. What happens is you get Cyrus the Great, who is the first person to combine the military prowess displayed by Achaemedes with the like diplomacy and tactful sort of personable intelligence displayed by Thyspes and Cambyses. So he combines the best of both of his ancestors in this,
He's
and he's
arguably
fucking terrifying.
he's also too in a lot of circles considered to be like one of the early great emperors.
Mhm. He is among some of the earlier greats in history. He has the shortest reign yet of an Achaemedes. Achaemenid. He reigns only from 559 to 530 BC, and in that 29 years, he single-handedly establishes the Achaemenid Empire.
Well, gee, let me guess. He goes through, consolidates power, conquering foreign territories, and basically unites the population under one flag.
Yeah, effectively. He
Oh,
gets a
of course.
he gets a major power boost right out the gate, because thanks to his mother being the daughter of the last king of the Medes, he has a claim to the throne of the Medes, which he presses and wins.
Oh, well, that's okay. That's like already starting off on a golden foot. That's like being born
Yeah.
into the family.
Yes, yes. And he's going to go from owning approximately 15% of what is now Iran to everything from Turkey to India.
That's quite a bit of land.
Yeah, he immediately just goes on a conquest thing. He has to consolidate his power. He feels the best way to do that is to show himself to be militarily capable. So he just starts campaigning west, east, back, forth, does not matter. He gets it all. He goes to the Aegean Sea, which is the ocean between Greece and Turkey. And he stops at the Indus River because he's not going to make that mistake Alexander the Great will do,
Well,
where he actually goes off and fights the Indians.
I was gonna say, like, he seems to have done a pretty good job. Thankfully, he hasn't aggravated any major foes, and there's not really any great military powers at the extent of his kingdom
Yeah.
on either
He
side.
Yeah, no, he does absolutely contend with a number of people who are larger than him, like the Assyrians and the Babylonians. Like he is spending this entire campaign being the smaller fish.
Let's not even forget the fact that uh, Egypt at the time too was quite the powerhouse.
Oh my God, yes.
I mean,
Yeah,
I know we'll touch
Egypt.
on that later
Egypt.
too,
Oh,
because
Egypt is, yeah. Yeah, Egypt, ironically, Cyrus does not get. Cyrus wants it, but he doesn't get to it. On account of the fact that he wakes up one morning, realizes he's still human, and dies.
oh, see, that's the
Yeah.
very human issue
But
that most emperors have.
yeah. But what he does do is he proves to be the enlightened ruler, and this is where he kind of gets his greatness from, because when he starts conquering these people, he decides to rule with tolerance and mercy. He does something that they really didn't do a lot of, which is he started promoting the local customs of wherever he was. He would go so far as to say, okay, this is your god. I will perform the ritual sacrifice to your god for your city's protection and prosperity. Instead of what most people did, which would come in, they'd kick in the door and say, congratulations, you're now Persian. You will now speak our language, wear our clothes, eat our food, and pray to our gods.
Well, and it went even further than that. Obviously, the religion was a big thing, but also like just promoted general customs because it really highlighted and showed some level of progressive thinking on his part, and it's very often talked about in a lot of empires because not many people did what he did and had that level of unity and promotion within. So yeah, you were able to maintain your gods, you were able to maintain your customs, and in most places you actually just maintained everything. He didn't tear down the system to put a new one in place. If you had a government in place that worked, he would just find a way that you would pay them an extra tax, and that was it. Life continued on as normal. Your flag changed colors.
Yeah, the flag changed colors, and your title went from King of Babylon to Satrap of Babylon. And that was really all there was to it. He one of the things that gets talked about is he creates a unique Persian identity by combining everything around him. The big depiction of this is there's a lot of these stone carvings, these stone reliefs depicting him, and you see a couple of things. First of all, he doesn't wear traditional Persian garb. He doesn't wear the clothes from where he's from. He wears the clothes of the Elamites, which was one of his first conquests. He uses the organization of the Medes, which he inherited through dubious lines of succession.
Kind of interesting.
He starts combining everything into making a more effective administration, and he gets hailed as a genius not because he innovated, but because he saw the value of others and combined what was most effective about them into his new fledgling empire to create this new unique identity. Because the Persian Empire is a brand new concept. It could be anything. It doesn't have traditions or customs or ways. And so he is free to just pick and choose without pissing anyone off, because everyone will now be grateful that they have a part in this empire instead of being, completely scrubbed away and trampled underfoot, which is what most people tend to expect when the army breaks through your gate.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is it's very fun. He actually becomes a mythological figure. He gets compared most often to Romulus and Remus of Roman mythology as this divine, heroic savior / ruler made flesh. The legend of him is just it keeps getting retold. It's on and on. He becomes the definition of Persian emperor for basically forever. His fame gets to the point where like he's being compared to Moses.
Oh jeez.
In terms of the divine perfection with he brings things forth.
I mean, that's being revered by your people. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah. Most beloved Achaemenid Emperor, it will not happen again.
Well, no, of course, you get the one who does it right, who perfects it, and then everyone else successfully just shits the bed. But I find it very interesting how not only did he promote the local cultures and customs and participated in them, but he started adopting them. Basically taking on the identity of these subjugated populations. And it does one of like three things in my mind. I think on one hand, it's very cool because it humanizes him. It brings him down to the everyday man's level because you go, oh, I also practice the same custom that he's currently participating in. And on the other hand, it shows a level of respect and reverence for your practices and your beliefs something that, like we talked about, many other subjugating parties would not do or tolerate whatsoever.
See,
Um,
everything the Romans ever did.
it's all Greek to me, anyways.
Yep. Oh, it will be soon, but that's a different Persia.
But then also, he did it with a level of kind of bureaucratic perfection. Like I said earlier, kind of just keeping a lot of things in place. You know, you don't exactly have to reinvent the wheel when you take over a lot of populations. And that's part of what let him grow and consolidate, because part of what a lot of empires collapse under is the fact that they grow and grow and grow to a point where it becomes unsustainable. They grow to a point where they're unable to handle the size and eventually collapse thanks to infighting or external pressures on them.
Yeah. Yeah. And his son, Cambyses II, is definitely going to see whether or not the rubber band snaps.
Boy.
Because Cambyses, he has the shortest reign of any of the Achaemenid rulers to date. He goes from 529 to 522 BCE. He was regent of Babylon prior to ascending the throne, so he had years of administrative experience learning at the feet of the great master that is Cyrus, his father. Does actually a pretty decent job upholding the legacy. First thing he does in office is he decides that his father had always been planning this dreamed invasion of the wealthy land of Egypt.
Hey,
And
I
so
talked
he
about
will
that
enact
earlier.
that invasion. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's one of the other things too that I find kind of interesting. It's like the empire paradox is maybe what I would refer to it as, where a lot of people refer to the great empires or the great emperors as the ones who expanded the empire. You
Yeah.
know, you don't tend to think of the great emperors as the ones who consolidated or who, lost territories. They're the ones who grew and expanded. And,
Yeah.
we're seeing it a lot in the modern day where territorial growth is a way to cement your legacy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you see that here where Cyrus the Great's son Cambyses II really wanted to emulate that and highlight that. And what better thing to go after than this jewel that has significant wealth and has this great history and so much regional power? I mean,
Yeah.
it really is that like can't cookie jar or like pie on the windowsill, like the thing you really shouldn't touch, but it's just too alluring.
Yeah. Now, Cambyses was not idly sitting by while his father was empire building. Cambyses did learn everything Cyrus had to teach. He marches into Egypt and personally ends the 26th dynasty of pharaohs.
Oh,
He just wipes them out. And he's able to do this because he doesn't invade Egypt. He instead allies himself with anyone who ever had a grudge against the pharaoh.
oh, the
Starting
beautiful way.
starting with the traders of the Arabian Peninsula, who actually actively ferried water to his troops throughout the campaign. As he had to cross multiple harsh deserts to get to the river Delta.
That is amazing. So they transported water for
Yep.
him.
Yep. He then bribes away the Greek military advisors to the Egyptian pharaoh, who come over to his side with a complete blueprint of the entirety of Egypt's army, where it's garrisoned, and how it intends to defend itself.
So quite literally the keys to the kingdom.
Yep. And thirdly, just because he's getting all the friends he can, he allies with these minor powers around Egypt, like Samnos or Samos, which are these small island kingdoms. They're mostly Greek or Phoenician, and they're trading partners with Egypt, but they're on a very one-sided trading agreement. And they'd be more than happy to sell out Egypt in return for, say, better prices on some luxury goods, which the Achaemenids are more than happy to provide. And
That
so he just
is.
annihilates the Egyptian pharaohs. They're just gone. It goes so well for him that he immediately plans the invasion of 3 more countries.
Of course, because
The simultaneous invasion of three more countries.
why not? I mean, why not? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, he had such great success in Africa. Might as well just continue on the African continent, right?
Yep. He plans to invade Ethiopia to the south. Uh,
Sub-Sahara, okay.
yep. He plans to go west across the desert to capture what is called Amos, which is a collection of oases in the middle of nowhere that have religious significance. Um, he plans to just send an army to take those for him. And then he plans to go along the coast of North Africa to capture Carthage, completing his conquest of the Phoenician city states.
Hmm.
If he had succeeded in all of this, the Punic Wars would have been very different. It would not have been Rome versus Carthage. It would have been Rome versus this massive freaking Persia or whatever the hell's left of it.
That's just kind of terrifying to think about too, with how strong they could have potentially been.
Yeah. Yeah. Fortunately, for the course of history, he only succeeds in a partial conquest of Ethiopia. He invades the northern territories of it and is able to hold that. He is unable to press his claim because of a famine. And at the same time, his army sent to conquer the holy oasis of Amos is annihilated by a sandstorm,
Ooh, yeah.
proving that God does not want him going west.
I also like the highlight of the holy oasis because boy were oasis considered to be holy in the deep desert like that because it was the only place to get fresh water for hundreds of
Yeah.
miles in almost any direction.
Yeah. This little territory of Amos is this independent, like, just city state that exists solely because there's fresh water here year round, and we have like a little temple and a population of 500. But we're important because people will send us gifts to pray for God's favor because we're in the middle of nowhere and we have water.
This is clearly a visual representation of God's blessing on the landscape kind of deal.
Yeah, kind of deal. Yeah. Um, Cambyses II is uniquely hated by the later historians.
Oh no.
Um, the reasons for this are unclear. It has mostly to do with how his reign ends. But effectively, he gets slandered a lot with being accused of a lot of atrocities in Egypt, none of which appear to have actually been committed. He's often written as the insane Achaemenid. There is no evidence of madness. What there is evidence of is probably one of the more militaristic Achaemenid kings. He's one of the last ones to be super successful at war, and he's just good at it. But he understands diplomacy. He is not a brute, which is what he's usually depicted as, is like an insane brute. It's really not the case. What fucks him over is someone we've talked about before on this channel when we were discussing, I believe, Zoroastrianism. A man who goes by the name of Gaumata the Magician.
God damn it! Not the magician again.
See, he's in Egypt. Our dear friend Cambyses II is in Egypt. Gaumata seizes the throne in Persia in 522. And it is on his way back to putting down this rebellion, this usurpation, that Cambyses II dies. His death leaves the empire without any legitimate heir. It is literally a usurper on the throne and no male Achaemenids in sight. And this results in a civil war between Gaumata the Magician and the junior branch of the Achaemenid dynasty, going all the way back to Cambyses II's great grandfather. That's how far removed from power this is.
Yeah, because it was supposed to hop back and forth, right, between the different bloodlines.
Yep. At least according to everyone after Darius the First,
Oh no.
who coincidentally is the first king of the junior line of the Achaemenid branch.
Let
Yep.
me guess. Is Darius also great too?
Darius is great. See, Darius is descended from Ariaramnes, the younger son of Tespes. Now, this part of the family did not prosper in the ensuing century plus. They were given rule of a place called Persis in 640 BCE, which was promptly conquered by Media. So Media just wipes it out. And they subjugated hard. It is Arya Ramnes and the junior line are significant only because they have the first written mention of Ahura Mazda in Persian. Ahura Mazda is the supreme deity of Zoroastrianism. We talk about him a lot in that episode where we cover, this ancient religion. And this is the first time anyone wrote anything down about this guy. It was oral tradition prior to Arya Ramnes. And that's the only thing of significance this branch of the family will do for 120 years.
Wow.
Yep.
I mean, that happens. You get these large royal families, they start growing and spreading. You get lesser branches. I mean,
Yeah.
look at what's happening to the current British royal family, where someone very far down the line of succession is being removed from the question entirely.
Yeah. 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 What's happened here is this is a very early split that just fails to become relevant at all. They're a modest vassal within Media and the Achaemenid Empire until 522, when Cambyses II died, and Darius I, Darius the Great, declares himself the nearest legitimate heir, and proves it by winning a civil war against Gaumata the magician.
It's a pretty convincing way to do so, and if you beat a magician, then you must be pretty well divinely endowed.
Yep. He has a pretty long reign, so there is a sense of stability which is going to be needed, because Darius goes from 522 to 486, which is a period of about 36 years. And oh my God, does he need every minute of it? Because it turns out that Darius is a big fat liar. See, even if you took the the claim that the line should go all the way back up to Tespes and then back down through Darius's ancestors, Darius isn't the eldest. He technically would be third in line. His grandfather should be the man sitting on this throne, but he's not. And
Details,
so
details, details.
and so everyone declares independence all at once, because why be ruled by a illegitimate king? There are no legitimate kings. Cambyses II died with no heirs. I guess there's no more Persia. And he and Darius just has to put down 5 simultaneous rebellions. Susiania, Babylonia, Media, which is where this whole thing started, so the homeland is in rebellion. Sargatia, and Margiana. 5 major provinces, 5 major satraps of the Persian Empire just go into open rebellion.
But that is precisely what happens in these events. You see these massive power vacuums that pop up, and you see it's basically next man up for who ends up trying to take that position or take that role.
Yep. Now, Darius is great. he takes the throne in 522, wins the civil war against Galmata, and by 519 he's put down all 5 major rebellions. So in 3 years he's won a civil war and suppressed 5 major revolts.
I see why they call him the Great, but that's pretty efficient too. 3 years, especially in a period of time before
Yeah.
motor vehicles. That's
Yep.
impressive.
3 years, 6 successful internal military campaigns. Of course, that's precisely when Egypt declares independence under a usurper pharaoh. And so he has to go in 518, he has to go into Egypt to put down another rebellion.
God, this man really was busy.
Yep. Succeeds in the same year and decides that it's going to be his most important project is going to be making certain this never happens again by fortifying the borders of an empire. So he does a bunch of petty conquests around the fringes to get good geographic control points and just starts building fortresses in every province he can. Of just saying, so garrison of 500 men loyal only to me, go here. Garrison of 1,100 men loyal only to me, go here.
It's a great projection of power, but it's also efficient too in terms of troop movement. Because should something arise, you're able to quickly mobilize a large amount of people quickly from these hub and spokes. The logistics of it is truly remarkable.
Yeah. He is the architect of Persia. He develops with this like militaristic building campaign, he develops Persian architecture. Like he designs what we understand as Persian architecture, which I believe are these, it's effectively square, squat kind of buildings with these massive, just 50, 100-foot tall carved stone reliefs on the side. It's very beautiful for how blocky it is. It's we laid 3 cubes together and formed a giant letter U, and then we decorated them with giant carvings of ourselves.
God, who let the Minecraft server into real life?
Yeah, that's what he does. He establishes that entire artistic and architectural style. He's what makes it happen, and that's part of why he's great, is because Persia, with Darius, now has an established tradition and cultural identity, which means that it's time to suppress people.
Yay, my favorite part.
But Darius doesn't have time for that. He's too busy performing all those tiny campaigns against these minor powers around him to secure his borders. And in 490, he's set his sight on this little backwoods, metal-rich peninsula called Greece. And he sails to the shores of Athens, where he immediately loses the Battle of Marathon against an army he outnumbers by a ridiculous amount.
Now, is this the same marathon that the history of the marathon as we know it today comes from?
Yes, this is the Battle of Marathon. This is the First Persian War. This is the Battle of Marathon. This is where a man runs across the entirety of Greece to get the Spartans to come help save Athens, and Spartans go, well, they're only conquering the Athenians, so I guess that's okay.
Yes, a man, I believe his name is Philippides.
Yeah.
He basically, the crazy thing is, what people don't realize is, yes, he ran 26 miles and died afterwards, but that came literally 72 hours after he finished a 300-mile run where he ran from Athens to Sparta and back, and then he ended up running from Marathon to Athens, which was the 26-mile distance. Or from Athens to Marathon, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. And on top of all that, he was doing it in mountainous terrain with not necessarily very well maintained roads.
The roads, you mean cobbles on the side of a mountain that's cut into the dirt.
I mean cleared paths you can follow.
Oh,
of varying degrees.
very
Um,
easy to just step wrong and twist your ankle. I can't imagine like trail running is a whole different thing, and this man was doing like rogue trail running.
yeah, yeah. He's going through multiple countries who all hate each other, so good luck finding a well-maintained part of that trail.
Oh,
Um,
it's well maintained because the armies keep marching back and forth.
keep destroying the freaking infrastructure, what they keep doing. But yeah, back with Darius number one here. Darius is credited with completing the works of Cyrus the Great. Um, because his greatness wasn't this battlefield prowess, even though he does have it in the sense that he's able to put down all these rebellions. But rather from the fact that this guy was probably the most capable administrator the Achaemenids ever produced.
Really?
Yep. He completed a reorganization of the satraps of the empire, which means that he standardized and set up and ensured that all the satraps were in place, that they were all loyal to the emperor, that everything flowed in one clear direction. There was no, I'm satrap of Babylon, but you're regent of Egypt, so who answers to who? Nonsense going on anymore. He standardized all that. He reformed the tax code so that everyone knew what they had to pay when.
Wow, that's a
Um,
that's a luxury we don't even have today.
yep, yep. He reformed the tax code and the tribute system. Um, he standardized the weights and measures of the empire
Which
so
that
that
in
you were not
itself is huge.
asking, so that you were not using Greek measures in Egypt and then Chinese measures in, Pakistan. It's one Persian measure now. Everything will be done this way. And he's the one king that gets really credited with establishing permanent, safe trade routes by both land and sea. He builds trade routes to all of his neighbors that he's not trying to conquer. Sorry, Greece. So he really sets up Persia to be an actual functioning multinational empire. One that can sustain itself through military security and vast economic wealth. Fortunately, his son is Xerxes the First.
Hey, old Xerxes, I've seen him.
Yep. This Xerxes is very famous. He rules from 486 to 465. And his first thing he does is he proves he's not like his father. Because a usurper takes the throne in Egypt again. And in 484, 2 years into his reign, Xerxes goes in to put this down, and he does so by burning everything in the river Delta. The man sets the Nile on fire.
Burn it to the ground, burn it to the ground.
Yep. He's much harsher than his father. He makes it clear that he is Xerxes. He is not going to be tolerant like the greats were. He is going to be militant.
Ooh.
And he knows exactly what to do. See, Darius was great. His father was great. This line is divinely endowed. But those Greeks defied that divinity, and so he shall march back to Greece and conquer it. All he needs to do is get past this small little chokehold in the Hellespont called Thermopylae. He has an army of 1,000,000 men, and all these petty Greeks could muster to face him are some 300 Spartans and a bunch of Thebans who are now running in the other direction.
This is Sparta.
Yep, this is that king. This is that battle. 480 BCE, he marches into Greece, gets a royal ass whooping at Thermopylae, keeps going, decides he's going to sail in because going over land, well, he did succeed in breaking through, was so costly.
Yeah, there's a lot
sails
of Spartans there. I'm gonna just go by sea.
Yep. Sails into the Bay of Salamis, which is where Athens is, and proceeds to lose his entire fleet. Because
Oh,
it turns out that the Athenians are sea Greeks and they live on the water.
so he barely won against the land Greeks,
Yep.
but then the sea Greeks just really decimated him.
Yep. He burns the city of Athens to the ground because all the sea Greeks are now living permanently on the boats for the duration of the war. But yeah, he loses this second Persian War, and it's his defeat here that marks the beginning of the end of the Achaemenids. The Persian Empire starts to go into decline because this is nothing if not an admission of weakness. And it also gives the Greeks a major chip on their shoulder when it comes to fighting the Persians. Like, they all hate Persia now. Yeah. Uh, um, and in fact, this kind of sparks some revolts in Bactria and Babylon. Um, what really sets them off isn't the fact that he loses this war. It's the fact that as part of him proving that Persia is so superior to everything, he renounces the titles Pharaoh of Egypt and King of Babylon, saying that those are not kingdoms, those are subjugated peoples.
Oh.
He Because prior to this, his father Darius was king of the Persians, the Medes, the Babylonians, and the Pharaoh of Egypt. Now, the Babylonians and the Egyptians are just conquered peoples. Babylon and Bactria do not like this.
Well, yeah, that just downgraded their status massively. At least they had some
Yep.
representation at the upper level.
Yep. Yep. They are no longer one of the four crowns of Persia. So they go into armed revolt.
Honestly, I would too at that point. That's a big enough slight.
Yeah. They lose horribly. But this really marks a shift towards away from the culture of tolerance and acceptance and localization, and more towards a culture of domination and centralization. Xerxes wants Persia to be Persian, even though Persia itself is this tiny little thing over by Media. It's not a good idea. What really pulls into this is I've been making references about divine mandates, and Xerxes believed he had one. See, Xerxes was something of a fanatical Zoroastrian. He goes so far as to declare himself the enemy of all other gods.
That's like the opposite of like an anti-zealot almost.
I know. Basically, he decides that the Zoroastrian gods are the gods, and he declares himself the enemy of the other gods. It's bad. It's a real bad idea.
Especially when you harken back to the original idea of the empire that had religious tolerance. This is an interesting take.
Yeah, this is a very sharp turn. This is a very bad turn, especially given the fact that his father, Darius the Great, won the throne against Gaumata the magician. Gaumata was a violent religious zealot for, can you guess which religion?
Zoroastrianism. Yay!
Exactly. You 180'd and became the thing your father destroyed.
That sounds about right, though.
You know, a religiously intolerant nut job. Xerxes is succeeded by someone who goes by the name of Artaxerxes.
Anti-Xerxes. I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
Oh yeah, Artaxerxes. Who rules from 465 to 425. He's going to be the last of the people here who have like nice reigns where they like rule for a long time and like things go well for them. Um, Artaxerxes is not the eldest son of Xerxes the First. Instead, he's made king by the captain of the royal guard. This turns out to be a very bad idea for the royal guard because several years later, he kills the captain of the royal guard who puts him in power, in a duel to the death.
There's got to be some backstory as to why he would just want to fucking murk this guy.
He challenges him to single combat as a sort of trial because evidence comes to light that the guy who put him on the throne may have murdered his father Xerxes the First.
That'll do it. Okay, now I understand.
And despite being the younger son and owing his throne to this man doing that, he is still a good son and loved his father, and thus murders his father's murderer to avenge the original murder.
Yeah, okay, that understood.
Yeah. Beyond that,
justified. Moving on.
Yeah. Beyond that, nothing really happens. There are 2 rebellions, one in Bactria, pretty insignificant, and one in Egypt, where Egypt is actually threatening to break away, but he puts it down. No major wars, no real border skirmishes, no massive revolutions.
What does that feel like, just a requirement at this point for the leaders of the Achaemenid Empire to just have to put down at least one revolt in Egypt?
It's Egypt, and the last guy renounced the title Pharaoh of Egypt, and there must always be a pharaoh in Egypt. So the Egyptians are not okay with anything that's happening.
Understandable.
They are just done with this.
They're just straight up not having a good time.
Yeah. Unfortunately for Artaxerxes, when he dies in 425, he figures his throne is secure. The Persian Empire has enjoyed 4 decades of relative peace. He has only one legitimate child, a son who is of age. There can be no contest. Xerxes, the second, takes the throne in 424 as the only legitimate son of Artaxerxes I. He's immediately murdered by his half-brother Sogdianus.
God damn it, Tyrion. You can't just kill your half-brother because you want the throne.
Yep. Sogdianus conspired to steal the throne from his half-brother. He will rule from 424 to 423 BCE, at which point he is immediately murdered by another half-brother of his, Darius II.
He's got a name like the other guy. He gets a pass.
Yeah. Darius II, his own was not in rebellion when Xerxes II took the throne. However, when Sogdianus took the throne, he goes to war. And his reason is wonderfully petty. He feels that if we are doing a line of succession from including all the illegitimate children,
oh no,
then he outranks Sogdianus. And his reasoning is pretty solid. See, Sogdianus is just the illegitimate child of Artaxerxes I. Darius is the illegitimate child of Artaxerxes I, married to the legitimate cousin of Artaxerxes I. Therefore, he should outrank Sogdianus, and he is going to go to war to prove it.
So instead of having half of a claim to the throne, he's got 3/4 of a claim, which is still more than a half.
Yep. And the lesson from this is, if you are an emperor, maybe don't sleep around. Or if you do something about your kids.
And the crazy thing is, this is before DNA testing ever existed. Imagine this happened in the modern day where you could take like a 23andMe kit and find out that you're the descendant of Artaxerxes, and you're like, well, Ma, I'm going to make a claim for the throne. Thank you.
Yep. Well, I think it was pretty obvious. I think they were all born with the Persian beard intact that you see on like every single one of these guys. That just rectangular, square jaw down Obi-Wan Kenobi beard.
Look, it was fashionable in that era, okay?
Yep. Now, Darius II is going to rule from 424 to 404 BC, error not found. He was satrap of Hyrcania before he took the throne, and his reign is known exclusively for being the most corrupt the Persian Empire ever becomes.
Yeah! A man of the people, you love to see it.
See, no, not man of the people. See, Darius II is pretty weak-willed.
Oh.
He's a weakling. He gets dominated by his wife in politics. He gets dominated by the eunuchs his wife brings in.
Oh no, he was the first cuck leader.
Yeah. He basically all of his advisors and his wife have more power than him, and he's just kind of there. This is not a man that was ever supposed to be on the throne and probably shouldn't have ruled. Ooh. But he had the better backing, so he won. He's able to put down the revolts of Hyrcania and Media, which should tell you something about how pathetic he was seen as, because the homeland, Media, is rebelling, and Hyrcania, the only place familiar with his style of government, also rebelled. Oof. They both knew this guy was not good. What he does do successfully is in 413 BCE, he forms an alliance with Sparta to win the Peloponnesian War, which Sparta is waging against Athens.
Kind of a crazy 180 there.
Yep. The reason he does this is Athens has destroyed any semblance of naval power Sparta might have had. And so he agrees to fund a full brand new fleet for Sparta to sail in to fight Athens. And in return, Sparta will acknowledge that all the Greek city-states in what is now Turkey, all the Anatolian Greeks, belong to Persia. The Anatolian Greeks answer to Athens right now, so to Sparta, this is a win-win. And for Persia, this is a great way to distract the Athenians from the new front he's about to open on their back door.
Never let the left hand know what the right hand is thinking.
Yep. The Athenians had controlled these cities since 448 BCE. They had just kind of taken them slowly over like decades, one at a time from Persia. Just they'd break, the little city state would break away, Athens would support it, and then immediately incorporate it into its own empire. So Darius is like, yeah, no more losing. We're going to do this. He succeeds, and within a year, he's dead.
Dang.
This gets us to Artaxerxes II. Darius II's son, rules from 404, year not found, to 359 BCE. He oversees the completion of the Peloponnesian War. He oversees the retaking of Anatolia. He completely loses Egypt in 403.
Dang.
And everything starts falling apart from there. His brother, a man named Cyrus the Younger, rebels from 402 to 401, gets killed trying. This is, however, enough to make Persia look so weak that Sparta declares the alliance over.
Damn.
And in the year 400, Sparta invades Anatolia to reclaim the Greek city-states of Turkey.
Yeah, because they're Greek after all.
Yep.
Doesn't matter the flavor.
Yep. The fighting continues until the Battle of Cnidus in 394, in which Persia annihilates the Spartan fleet.
I was going to say the Spanish.
The Spanish aren't involved here.
No,
No one suspects the Spanish Inquisition. That's not the point. Yeah, so he has to destroy the fleet his father built and gave to the Spartans to stop the Spartans from taking the cities the Spartans paid for that fleet with.
Yeah. Spartans didn't hold up their end of the bargain. They noticed some blood in the water.
Yep. It will take another 8 years to force a peace. In 386, a peace is established during which the major Athenian city-states acknowledge that Cyprus and Turkey belong to Persia. And Persia acknowledges that the rest of the Aegean belongs to the Greeks. This actually gives Persia a lot of power because for about 50 years after this, Persia becomes the arbiter of Greek affairs. Two Greek city-states are having a dispute. Instead of calling a war, we'll call Persia. It's like phone a friend, but with the big scary neighbor.
For some reason, he's really, really strong and kind of bald with a really, really big beard.
Yeah, he's terrifying.
But he's really good at arbitration. You know, I don't know if he went to school for it or if they have like really good law training there.
Yeah, who can tell? Artaxerxes II is not a military genius by any stretch of the imagination. He repeatedly tries and fails to recapture Egypt. He suffers constant border wars with Armenia and Iran. The only thing he really does that like is a major significant change that lasts is he introduces to Persia the concept of worshiping idols. The Persians did not pray to images of their gods before. And he goes around erecting statues of the Zoroastrian gods for the Persians to worship. Why he does this is unclear. I think he's just looking for any form of legitimacy and divine aid from the constant border wars. But that does bring us to Artaxerxes III, as we are finally running out of Persian kings.
Yay!
He's Artaxerxes II's son. He will rule from 358 to 338 BCE. This is the last prosperous reign of the Persian Empire in any capacity. This guy is known for being equal parts cruel and efficient. He recognizes that the Persian Empire is probably dying. So he decides that the best way to do that is to tighten his iron grip until everything chokes under it.
Well, yes, if you're juicing, you might as well squeeze even tighter.
Yeah. The first thing he does is he guarantees that the only army in Persia is his army. So he forcibly disbands all the mercenary companies used by all the satraps and governors and local lords under him. So that the only army is the Persian army. No one can rebel. The second thing he does is execute the vast majority of his extended family. Because that's the second problem his predecessor had faced was, if the governors aren't rebelling, my brothers are. So he gets rid of all his brothers.
Really a family affair there.
Yep. He then goes on the offensive. Phoenicia tries to rebel in 345, puts it down. In 343, he's marched into Egypt and reconquered it, bringing Egypt back into the Persian Empire. He then goes toe-to-toe with Philip of Macedon in 340, where he defends Corinthus and the city of Byzantium from the Greeks, which is a bit ironic considering that his side is going to be doing most of the attacking on Byzantium for the next 1400 years.
Wait, Philip of Macedon. You mean
That's right. It's him. Yep. The one-eyed Macedonian warlord, father of Alexander the Great, and man who has sworn with his life's duty to conquer all of Persia. just as soon as he finishes unifying these Greeks. Get over here.
Well, also, the man who is truly an inspiration to myself because he lived, almost 3,000 years ago at this point, and still
Yep.
to this day causes a border dispute and naming dispute between two independent nations.
Yep. Greece, who has the ancient province of Macedon that Philip actually ruled, and the Republic of Macedonia, which uses the name.
Which is a bit further to the north.
Yep. Yep.
So, if you're
Great.
causing political
Thessalonians.
squabbles 2,000 years after your own death, that is truly a man who I admire
Yeah.
and admonish.
Yeah. Now, Artaxerxes creates a bit of a double-edged sword for himself, unfortunately. So the whole family murdering thing and disbanding of the armies, it restores centralized power to the Achaemenid dynasty. The Persian Empire is now a centrally governed empire where authority is derived solely from their emperor. The downside of this, there's not a lot of members of the imperial family left. So when his chief advisor, a man named Bagoas, decides to murder him, there's really just like a child left to rule the empire. As Bagoas in like one day like takes out the top three Achaemenids and puts a child king known as Arses, aka Artaxerxes IV, in charge.
Why would he do that?
Well, he wants to rule as regent over the youngest son. Reports vary on how old this kid is. Some say he's like an infant, which I don't really believe. Some say he's a child. Some say he's a young man. He is old enough to, in 336, 2 years after being put on the throne, attempt to assassinate Bagoas. He loses, and Bagoas murders him.
Oh.
The only thing that really happens that's noteworthy under Artaxerxes IV's pseudo reign is that Philip of Macedon invades Asia Minor and basically just starts looting Turkey.
Okay.
Nothing major comes of it. It's just a further weakening of the political and military cohesion of the Persian Empire at this point. Darius III makes it to the throne of the Achaemenid dynasty here. He will rule from 336 to 330 BC. He's the last king of the Achaemenids. He's also literally the last Achaemenid standing.
Hey, just because he's the last one doesn't mean he's the only one, you know?
He is something in the vicinity of like cousin once removed from Artaxerxes IV. And he's literally the only like Achaemenid that Bagoas can find, given that both Bagoas and Artaxerxes III had a habit of murdering anyone with the name.
Yeah, when you have that habit, you tend to run out of suitable candidates fairly quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. You had back-to-back homicidal kings / regents. It's really not a good look. Anyway, Darius gets on the throne, lets Bagoas put him up there, and then immediately assassinates Bagoas.
I mean, he had it coming.
He's not putting up with this. He's not dealing with whatever bullshit this man is bringing to the table.
Well, I mean, how many regicides were there prior at this man's own hand?
This guy killed 4 Achaemenids. No, 5. Sorry, including 2 kings.
Golly, he deserved it.
Yeah, he had killed 5. Only 2 of them were kings, but he killed Artaxerxes' 3 heirs, and Arses.
Just so he could rule by proxy.
So he could rule by proxy. He had a lot of power. He was one of like maybe 5 or 6 of the most powerful men in the world at the time, but the world is not enough.
Not when you're a eunuch. You got a lot to prove.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a eunuch. It's terrifying. Unfortunately for Darius, just as soon as he's got this settled, 334 BCE rolls around, and along comes a man named Alexander. He
Seems
is
like a swell.
Alexander II, son of Philip II. He is the Great. He has united the Greeks, and oh shit, he's crossed the Hellespont.
Oh no, I was gonna say he
And,
seems like a swell feller, but
yeah,
him and that
and
little skinny boy next to him.
and he's besieged Phoenicia and taken it.
Ooh.
And Egypt has immediately surrendered to him on the grounds that he's not a Persian, so let's go. Apparently, if you let him call you Pharaoh, they're loyal to you.
I didn't even realize he conquered it that easily.
Oh, yeah. And the Achaemenid Empire just unravels against the Greeks. In 331 BCE, the Greeks win a major battle at Issus, and that just marks the end of Achaemenid power. Darius III, he's lost every battle he's fought against Alexander. Every vassal who's fought against Alexander has lost. So he flees into Bactria. Bactria is really mountainous. It's a tough terrain. It's a hardy, and they've cut off his head as a peace offering so Alexander won't invade them.
Yikes.
He gets murdered by his own governor in an act of self-preservation.
And
Yeah.
then the entire Achaemenid Persia was absorbed into the Empire of Alexander.
Yep, Alexander absorbs the empire. Alexander does do a merciful thing in that he doesn't kill Darius's children. Just on the grounds that a 9-year-old boy cannot possibly be held responsible for his father.
Yeah.
And it's a literal child, and Alexander kind of feels bad for the kid.
Well, plus he's got bigger fish to fry. He hears there's Indians over in the Indus Valley.
Yeah, he wants to keep going. He wants to see the end of the world, which is a big thing. But yeah, the Achaemenid dynasty ends. It actually ends with a bit of a pitying note from Alexander the Great himself, who does in one of the histories is recorded as contemplating, looking at Darius's son. If his father had been, more capable, this boy would have been ruler of the earth.
Damn.
He really he dunked on Darius right there, but he does pity kids. He does pity him.
That's both like so much respect coming from Alexander, but also just the ultimate slam dunk.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Oh god. But yeah, that is the Achaemenids. They are a dynasty for 270 years. They are an empire for they are around for a long fucking time.
Very long time.
They are a dynasty for I can't even math anymore.
They're one of the blueprints for an empire, though, and were one of the guidelines for what many people thought an empire should be. So it's kind of hard to understate the importance of the Achaemenids.
Yeah. They were a dynasty for centuries, and that's even before they became an empire, which they held on to for 229 years, which is hella impressive for a dynasty that has an extra like century and a half on that.
But yeah, I think that's probably a great point for us to wrap up today's episode. We got a good one coming up for you in the pipeline next, with the next episode being that of Saint Patrick. We're going over to the Emerald Isle.
Yeah, it's a holiday episode for this one. Will be coming out to you guys if you're watching when it first comes out, right before St. Patrick's Day.
So, top of the morning to you. Luck of the Irish, Molly Malone and all that good malarkey.
I know we're all Irish here, but do we really let him get away with that accent? Let us
Well,
know.
it's truly a tragedy. And anyways, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time, and have a good one.